Dr. Dave, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thanks. Good to be here.
You know, when the show was put together, it was my premise that the idea I had was to have guys like you know, who a lot of people love the Dr. Dave band. And we're going to get into all that stuff.
Yep.
But maybe they haven't heard you speak about some of your hobbies and interests and some of the things that, you know, make the band so special. So today's a day where people are going to get to hear you talk about the band, talk about your career, you know, what got you into music, all the successes that you're having, some of the great things you got coming up in the next year.
Sure.
So how does that sound?
Sounds good.
So you are an excellent, excellent guitar player. You really are. Very talented guy. Yeah, and you play the fiddle, which we're going to get into.
Yep.
Your band plays to enthusiastic audiences, man. And you're an award-winning band.
Yep.
Every year you guys are either best band, favorite band. There's the Reader's Choice Awards, the Community Choice Awards. Every year, first place, winner.
Thanks.
And I think that's a reflection of how great you guys are. And I noticed you have a very loyal audience.
That's it. Yeah, it's our following. I mean, you talk about, you know, winning best band. Well, what's a best band? You know, there's a lot of really best bands around here, but we always say we have the fans that are willing to vote for us to be the best band. That's
special.
That's special. And, you know, it's taken me decades. You know, I've worked at it decades to build up the following that we have, but it's...
How many years has the Dr. Dave band been going?
This format, little over 20 years, 23, wow. 24.
All in this area?
All in this area, yeah. This format of 4-piece, another guitar player, bass and drums, myself. But I played my first gig in this area in 1975 or 6.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's impressive.
Right down the road, downtown Sarasota, Main Street in Sarasota. It was a place called Foley's. And Foley's in the 70s, late 70s, was just the place. And it had an outdoor patio and an indoor rock and roll bar. And I did the outdoor patio thing and as a duo and played out there in the patio, rock and roll going on inside. Drinking age was 18. And it was...
Yeah, and I'm sure amazing. Sarasota was a completely different place. And
totally different.
We could have another episode just on that.
Absolutely.
Of all the changes that have happened here. But yes, it's true. When you come to one of your shows, I was recently at one of your seafood festival appearances. Your fans are up and dancing. They're either dancing in their chairs or they're come up right up to the stage and they're grooving.
Yeah. The fans, I mean, that's our whole thing. It's like a family. I think of it like, I mean, of course it's on the local level like this, but like Jimmy Buffett had Parrot Heads and the Grateful Dead had the Deadheads. And the Dr. Dave band has this family of people and, you know, like Buffett, Parrot Heads. I mean, they traveled the country. They traveled the world to all their shows.
Deadheads, right?
Yeah. And, you know, we have this family of people that they follow us wherever we are. And I mean, we have people that don't miss more than a handful of shows in a year.
As a musician myself, isn't it a wonderful thing when you're playing and you see your family, your friends, your loyal folks? I mean, we have some fans too that follow Jacked Up that they're almost at every show.
Yeah.
And it's a point now where they're no longer fans, they're family, right?
Yes.
And like we'll have them over the house for barbecues and we'll include them in things. And I guess, you know, that's what it comes down to, Dave. And at least for me, it's not so much about the money. It's not so much about the awards. It's about watching people groove and having a good time to something that I'm creating.
Yeah. For me, it's making people happy. And, you know, we have a mission statement on our website is bringing smiles to faces, happiness to hearts. And that is what we're about. And
it's so true. And I can attest to that. The songs that you pick are indicative of that. You play very family friendly, good old fashioned rock and roll, country. You know, you have a really nice mix of music. that I think is very easy to listen to. It's fun. And what's cool about you guys too is that you throw in some surprises, man. Like little Ozzy Osbourne was unexpected there, you know. And some of the things you guys do.
And we do like the Ozzy Osbourne, the intro to Crazy Train, as our intro to a bluegrass song, Rocky Top. And then we do Locomotive Breath by Jethro Tull using the banjo. Still rock and roll style, but with the banjo cranking.
Right. And that's what gives you your signature sound.
That's it.
You know, because it's safe to say that you guys sound unique.
We are unique. And when people ask what do you do? What kind of stuff you do? Well, we do a lot of stuff. We do a lot of different stuff. We call it country grass rock because couldn't think of anything else that described it any better, but it's country, it's rock, it's bluegrass, and all combinations of those things. So it's really unique. And the set list is unique, very different than most any other band.
It's interesting. A lot of people, when they come to see you for the first time, I think they're pleasantly surprised, when you pull out that fiddle, right? Because you don't start on the fiddle. You always start on the guitar, and then you'll bring it out a little bit later.
The fiddle is the secret weapon. You can have 80% of them with you, maybe up until that point, but when you pull out the fiddle, you got 100% of them.
Now you're quite accomplished on the fiddle, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, one of my early influences in music, and when I was just early on in my career, I opened for the Nitty Gritty Dirt Band.
I remember them.
And they're still touring after 50 some years.
They're a great band.
Yeah, Jeff Hanna and John McEwen. But I saw them and it was like, oh man, because my early influences was not rock and roll, and it wasn't really country. It was more folky. It was James Taylor, John Denver, But then I saw the Dirt Band, which had a drummer and kind of really put some, oomph into music that was across, between country and folk and rockish stuff. And John McEwen played the fiddle and the banjo. And I said, that would really help and I was just getting started. And I said, that would really help my career if I could learn the banjo and the fiddle. So I started working on it.
You were inspired.
Yeah.
That's a very cool story.
Yeah.
The Nitty Gritty Dirt Band is in a class by itself.
Yeah.
And the closest group to that would be the band. And these were groups of musicians who brought in a lot of different styles, country and the folk.
Yeah.
And it created a unique sound.
Yeah, it was super. And, my wife and I, Joanne, we've seen the Dirt Band a couple of times in the last few years, got to talk to Jeff Hanna a couple of times. And I remind him, remember when I opened for you back in 70, whatever it was? And of course he doesn't, but then I see him again and we just saw him in Boulder, Colorado a couple of years ago. And he's such a great guy. I mean, so humble, so down to earth. And we talked to him for a while, and I just tried to tell him, how much they influenced me and meant to me.
Have you opened up for a lot of bands that you could mention, a couple of names you could throw out of some bands over the years that you got a chance to open up for?
Yeah, lots. Because we've done some festivals, not some of the seafood festivals we're doing now, but for years we did a barbecue festival here in Manatee County at the fairgrounds. We opened for Marshall Tucker Band, The Outlaws, Charlie Daniels, Kelly Pickerel. Year after year we did the festival, open for these bands. And then we also did for years the St. Pete Rib Fest, which was a 3-day event that brought in every huge classic rock band that was still playing. So Eddie Money, Doobie Brothers, REO. I'm not saying we were the band right before them, but on the big poster.
You shared the bill.
But we shared the bill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you shared the stage technically. I mean, we're opening up for Blue Oyster Cult in February 14th. So that's kind of cool for us because I'm from New York, and I grew up listening to Blue Oyster Cult. I mean, when I was a kid, and everybody was into the Don't Fear the Reaper, right? Godzilla and all those great songs. So when I found out from the promoter that Jacked Up was going to open up for them, I was beyond thrilled.
Mhm.
So this is going to be my first experience. You've had numerous experiences. I guess my question to you would be like, do you think I'll get a chance to meet them backstage? And if so, do you think they'll be, receptive to maybe taking a picture, letting us like, we're the local band, right? We're the local opening act.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
they
like, they're a huge band, and I'm sure in every city they go to, there's probably, a small little local band that opens up for them.
yeah, they're all different. I mean, only a couple of years before he died, I did that. Eddie Money was at that St. Pete Rib Fest, and he came off the stage. We'd played. I was just standing backstage, and he came off the stage and walked right up to me and gave me a big hug.
Awesome.
He's a big guy.
Eddie Mahoney.
He's a big
Yeah,
guy.
man.
He goes, "Hey man, you were great," and I said, "Well, you're great too."
Wow, what a nice thing.
Yeah, and then everybody's different.
Well,
So,
Thunder by the Bay is coming up, and I'm going to shamelessly plug it because
yeah,
Suncoast Charities for Children is going to get the proceeds, and
yeah,
there's so many things that they do with that money
mhm,
here locally
yeah,
in the 3 counties.
yep,
That's very, very important. So I encourage folks to buy tickets. It's a 3-day
yeah,
event. The first night is Blue Oyster Cult. The second
mhm.
night is Grand Funk Railroad,
Oh wow,
and the third night is Creed. Creed,
mhm,
what's his last name? Creed Walker,
mhm,
country guy. But the most important thing is that general admission or VIP
mhm,
is gonna give those revenues to those wonderful charities that's needed, and you get to
yeah,
enjoy a concert.
yeah, and I'm so happy for you to get that because that's a coveted gig to get around here, and I'm you should get it.
Thank you.
You work hard
Yeah,
at what you do, and we're doing one that we do every year, just to plug another
sure,
one.
please.
But on January 1st every year, Clancy's in Bradenton. Clancy's Irish,
Great spot.
great spot.
You play there monthly, as do we.
Yep.
Great spot.
And every year they do on January 1st, they do the Shamrock Shiver.
Oh yes,
And that benefits local charities that serve children in our area. And so at noon, they meet out on Coquina Beach, out on Anna Maria Island, and everybody does the plunge. Well, not everybody, but anybody that wants to get in some cold water, they do the plunge, and then they come back to Clancy's for the Dr. Dave Band 1 to 3. At Clancy's, the after plunge
sure.
party. So that's another one. People could just contact Clancy's. How can I, get involved? And basically, it's go to the beach and
And the great thing
you know.
about Clancy's is that they do other events too. I
Oh
mean,
yeah,
they're always trying to raise money back to school. They
yes,
do obviously the plunge. They do some other things too. So they're very, very gifting minded there.
they are. Rayma, shout out to Rayma.
Yes.
She's just a fantastic person and businesswoman as well.
And it's funny because we share a lot of the same venues.
Mhm.
To me, Clancy's is my favorite. I like the food. I think the food there is outstanding.
Price is reasonable, food good.
Yeah.
Great bands,
The
great
people,
setting.
and it seems like all the people that go there are really into music.
Mhm.
And, we've all played in front of audiences that, weren't. But when they go there, they're attentive. They know the bands are going to start at 5 o'clock on Saturday. So it's 5 to 9. I know your Sunday afternoons. But they're excited about it, and
Yep.
they're sitting there waiting for you to start, and then they pick their battles, or I guess their times they're going to get up and dance.
Yeah.
We will always throw in a couple slow ones to get them going. So
Yeah.
it's just a wonderful, wonderful place to play.
It is. There are a lot of good ones around here. That's one for sure, and it's really close to our house. It's like 8 minutes from where we live, so that makes it a favorite. But great ones all over.
So you had mentioned great bands. Let's talk about that because I have a quick story to tell. I always considered you guys, Kettle, and Twinkle kind of like the 3 pillars of
Mhm.
our community as far
Mhm.
as cover rock and roll bands,
Mhm.
country as well. And I think that I know my experience is that I saw you guys before Jacked Up even started. What happened was I had moved here, and my bass was under my bed collecting dust. I wasn't performing, and I was so inspired by the seafood festivals because
Mhm.
I didn't know Bill, I didn't know Paragon, but it
Mhm.
seemed like that particular time I was there was something going on in J.D. Hamill Park every weekend.
Mhm.
And if not, there was something up in Coquina, or there was something down in Venice or whatever. So they were easy for me to get to. So I would go to these things, and I would walk in and I'd see you guys were always a regular there. And I was so inspired how good you guys are. I mean,
Well,
Twinkle and Rock
thank
Soul
you.
Radio, forget about it.
Yeah.
You know, she's incredible performance. She's going to be sitting in that chair next week.
Oh, good.
And I'm going to tell her the story too.
Yeah, she's great.
Kettle of Fish,
Yeah.
you know, Dana Lawrence. I mean, he always surrounds himself with the best players.
Right.
And they know exactly what to play at these festivals.
Yes.
And then you guys. So it inspired me so much that I went on Band Mix. I went on Craigslist. I put together an act. It wasn't called Jacked Up back then, but I got my bass out. I started playing again. It's like riding a bike, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then next thing you know, one band became another band's name, and then people came and go, and then Jacked Up was born.
Yeah.
And then we are who we are today. Oh, by the way, you get a gift. You get a Jacked Up guitar pick.
All right. Thank you. Thank you.
So I want to thank you for inspiring me.
Well, thanks. Yeah. I just love it. You know, I've been doing it a long time, and I used to think, you know, yikes, a really long time, but I still love it. Still like making people happy. And I got the greatest bunch of guys with me right now. You know, you mentioned about, you know, get a few guys, you know, and of course guys come and go in the band, but right now I got George Routh on guitar.
Okay, so stop for a second. George is a sweetheart of a man. Great guy. Yes, I love George.
He's the best. He's the nicest guy and the great guitar player, can play different styles. Loyal. He's just great. And he's my fishing buddy as well. And so, and then Ted Fordney on bass. He's been with the band almost 2 years, and he's a good,
solid player,
good singer, good guy. And drummers, you know, since COVID, we've had, you know, drummers in and out. Jesse Rojas I called Jesse a few years ago and said, you know, because he had played with me in the early, like 2006, 7, for a couple of years. And then I called him and I said, you know, can you help me out for a while? And he goes, yeah. Well, he helped me out for over 3 years. And then just this season in October, we started working in a new guy, Chris Dallenbach, really good guy, good player. And, you know, it's a process. You know, our set list is not easy. I mean, it's not one that guys just can come in and, you know, because half the songs they don't know, they haven't played. It's not like, you know, we're playing Pride and Joy now. Oh, okay. You know, it's like, okay, we're doing Boil Them Cabbage Down, which is a song from the 1800s. You know, so
they have to do their homework.
So strap in.
Well, the fact that you kept one drummer for 3 years is amazing, because like you, I've gone through a lot of drummers, but I'm very happy with who I have now.
Yeah.
Jared Johnson. But he does take vacation. He does, you know, so then I have to get a fill-in. So to your point, sometimes we have to actually dummy down the set list just to accommodate our fill-in drummer.
Right. Yep. And of course I've done that many times, but right now, Chris, he's working in really good, and we're happy to have him, and our fans.
Well, I saw you a few weeks ago, and that was the lineup that you just mentioned.
Yeah.
And you guys sounded great.
Thank you.
Nice and tight. So nobody would have known it was a new drummer.
Good.
You know?
That's what we want.
And you'll see that they'll get better and better and better.
Oh yeah, I know.
You know, it's funny because you know, we all play the same songs for how many years now, right? We try to mix up the order, and we add some new ones and take some out, but more or less there's a core there.
Yes.
That we just now you can play them backwards. I mean, you know, so it's all about repetition, right?
Yep.
Muscle memory.
That's it. I mean, people, somebody's sitting around, you know, what's the words to this song? I couldn't sing half the words to the songs I sing every night. But if I got a guitar on and I'm in front of a microphone and I'm doing it, I know all the words. It's just muscle memory.
Correct. Now, you have a break every once in a while. One of your guys will sing a few, right?
Oh, yeah.
So does George sing a couple?
George sings. Ted sings.
Ted sings a couple, so it kind of gives you a little bit of a break.
Yep. And they're both good harmony singers.
Yeah.
George and I've been here for a long time, since the 70s, but I was born and raised in Indiana, and George is from Indiana.
You're both Hoosiers.
Yeah, exactly. So our harmony blend is really good together.
It's so funny because there's a musician named Tommy Balbo. You know that name?
I do.
He's from Indiana as well, I believe.
Yep.
And he's up in Bradenton Beach, and he's one of those guys that lives and works up there, and he's so comfortable, he never leaves the area.
Yeah.
And he gigs like 7 nights a week at the same bar.
Yeah, on Bridge Street.
Yeah. He loves it. No,
Yeah.
and he's very talented.
Yeah.
Very good guy, him and his wife.
Yeah.
I used to jam with him. He had a thing called The Collective.
Okay.
And I guess it was because it was called that because you never knew who was going to show up that night.
Yeah.
So it's one of those things where he'll call you up and say, "Hey, can you play tonight? Here's the
Mhm.
set list."
Mhm.
And then you're like, okay."
Yeah. Yes.
I did it reluctantly,
Well,
but then I had the best time. I was nervous. I'm like, I don't know half these songs, man. I'm like, I'll just figure it out, and I did.
yeah, well, you got some skills then. I'm not one that can do that. If somebody called me, "Hey, can you sit down and go?" No, you know,
Well, I
I
think
just
guitar's a little bit more difficult than a bass, but
yeah,
I've heard
maybe,
a lot of
but
these songs in the radio. So there's maybe as a Black Crow song, for an example.
mhm,
I never played it live, but yet I've heard it so many times on the radio, and I know what
mhm,
key it's in,
yeah,
and I could just figure the scale out, and I'm good to go.
yeah.
But yeah, some of the stuff you do is pretty technical. I mean, it's there's some picking in there, and there's some crazy stuff.
Yeah, changing of instruments mid-song and all kinds of stuff,
That's
yeah.
see that you can never sub yourself out. For an example,
Oh, right.
I'm
No,
getting
you
ready to take some vacation, so I have a bass player to sub for me,
uh-huh,
and even my singer, Dana DCX is
right,
my original singer,
mhm,
and she's now in a different band. But when I need her and she's available, she comes and sings front for us.
right.
So I'm fortunate. But a guy like the Dr. Dave band, you can't ever not you can't miss a show
No,
because you're the show.
and my worst nightmare is getting a cold and losing my voice. And it's just like I just live in fear of that all the time
Yeah,
because if my voice goes, a lot of dominoes start to fall.
sure.
To calling clubs, calling
Which
fan.
we don't want to ever have to do.
No,
Right? We hate that.
and I rarely have ever had to do that. But it's not good.
Well,
It's
I think we all had it in COVID, and it was expected.
Mhm.
You know, but that's a great question. I'm glad you brought this up because I ask a lot of my singers this question. So, what are you doing for your throat, or what are you doing to medicate it? What are you doing to warm it up? If you feel something coming on and you know you have a show in 2 nights, like what are some of the treatments?
If I feel something coming on, I hit the airborne.
Okay,
That stuff
sure.
fizz and or if I walk by somebody in a grocery store and I hear them cough, I run home and do one of the. I mean, I'm a little
Okay,
over the top paranoid about it because I'd rather do everything to prevent it than to deal with it once So vitamin C every day. Try to eat good, try to get rest, try to
are you a
rest.
herbal tea kind of guy? Hot teas?
No, but if I have a little if my throat's a little weary, then I'll do the hot lemon and honey, you know, that kind of not tea, but water,
Gotcha.
hot water, lemon.
Do you actually do any vocal warm ups like
Not I
the
should,
scale?
I should, but I do it with the set list. Like the first couple of songs, I'll make sure it's no high notes and kind of ease into the
That's
night.
what I do too.
Yeah,
A lot of my female singers will actually go backstage and they'll have a device and they can listen to it and they can recite, do re mi fas, all that stuff,
yeah,
um, which is fine. I think a typical guy, we're like, yeah, we'll just play the game, let's just give me the ball and I'll deal with it.
yeah,
But I too save the easier songs, not just for me vocally on the lead, but on the backup as well, that I can warm myself up. So by the time
yeah,
the second set, which is our money set, right? Most
yeah,
bands second set,
yeah.
and I'm doing the Billy Idol and I'm getting doing the crazy stuff.
Hmm.
I'm ready to go.
Yeah. Yep, that's the way I do it. Just set list. I should. I mean, all singers they should work their voice every day.
They should.
When we're in Colorado for the summer, um, I I I only sing once in a great while when our neighbors come over for happy hour on our deck. I play the acoustic and I sing a few songs, but as a couple of weeks, 3 weeks before we head back, then I start
That's a great
singing.
question. So do you
Yeah.
think by taking off that time, physically, mentally, right, it makes you a better performer and makes the Dr. Dave band stronger so you can maintain your quality for years and years, knowing
Yeah.
that you're getting that not much needed rest?
Yeah, and my voice, it gets so when I come back in the fall, my voice is strong. It's good. You know, I can hit all the high notes. It's just really good. And then
As opposed to May before you when you
exactly, we're doing the Aquapalooza, our last show before we leave town, and it's like because we just played Friday and then Saturday and then Sunday afternoon. But yeah, it's stronger, it's better, and and I applaud all the bands, and the crowds around here really appreciate the bands that stick it out in the summer. And I always did. I played all through the summer, but that's a gift that I got from COVID, that we found out we could not play in the summer and be okay. Because the guys in my band, they're okay not playing 12 months a year. 8 months, we play 80 shows in our 7.5, 8 months. We play, and we're booked out to the end of 2025 right now with, just a few things available. But we play hard when we're playing in 10, 12 shows a month. We got 12 in January.
Your loyal fans that we talked about earlier, you have them conditioned.
Yeah.
So they're cool. So they know they're gonna catch you in May, and they're gonna catch you again in October. So everybody's cool with that.
Yeah.
And the venues are probably aware of that as well.
Yeah. That last year, Motorworks wanted to do in May. They did a special night with us,
like a going away
the
party.
going away party. And then when we come back, first time we're at a venue, everybody's excited to see us. And
okay, so some technical questions. Who's making the set list every night?
Me.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are you trying to mix it up from the previous nights? Are you trying to switch things around?
Yeah. Yes. It goes by venue for me, because every venue requires a different set list. We do the same songs typically, that nucleus of songs that
Right.
you talked about, that 20, 25 songs that, the fiddle, the banjo, the Alabama songs, the Keith Urban songs, the ones that set us apart and our fans love, and we got to do that. But then the other things, like the beginning songs of the night or the later songs at the end, change those out constantly. But some venues, and I know you guys have played Island Time. We're going to be there this Friday, but Island Time, they're a restaurant on the first set. So first set is like, easy going, quieter stuff.
We learned the hard way.
Yeah. Well, I, figured it out over time.
Yeah.
But then there, your last set is the wild, crazy one. Not even the second set, but your last set's the crazy wild one. And in other places, you can hit it hard from the, Stoudemire's, whatever. You can hit that hard from the first note. And in other places, it's the middle, like Motorworks. It's the middle section that is you're going to have it the best. So
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
I mean, you nailed it, because it's by venue, right?
Yeah.
Because some of them we call them menu venues, right?
Okay.
Where
Yeah.
like
I like that.
When we play Woody's, we do a couple Thursdays at Woody's, and that's a 5 o'clock start.
Yeah.
So there are people that are communicating with their server, getting their food orders in. So
Mhm.
you can't start blasting, your hard rock stuff at that point.
Exactly.
So we learned the hard way.
Yeah,
We've gotten yelled at. We've actually said, "Hey, you're too loud." Yeah.
Oh, we used to get that all the time there. We just played there last Sunday. Not one time told to turn down, because we got it dialed in now.
Yeah. And now, who does your sound? And is it your gear? And how is it set it and forget it? Like, you guys have it dialed in already?
We have it dialed in. It's George's and my gear. And George and I work on the sound together. But I mean, we're 4 guys. We don't have crew. We don't have, we're 4 guys. We go in there, we set up, we play, we tear down, we're out.
It's the same thing for us. Larry is my George.
Mhm.
Larry's my right-hand guy. And we load the trailer together. We transport everything together. We unload the trailer together. We unbox it, uncrate it,
Mhm.
set it up. We have a system where he tacks the speakers first. I roll everything in, then he does the wiring. So
Yeah.
we got it down to a science. We just hired a young man who we're going to train to help us, because we're getting older.
Yeah.
And there's ailments, with back issues and whatnot. Even though everything's on wheels, it's like, it's time for us to get someone to help us. So, but anyway, we have it down. We can get the whole thing down in like 37 minutes.
Yeah.
And then we turn it on and we pray that it works, right? Because everything now is all like digital.
Mm-hmm.
Remember the days of the old giant boards?
Yeah.
Those days are over. We have little tablets now, man, and everything's on a rack and everything's digital.
Oh, we're still analog. We still got we got a Mackie mixer and knobs. I mean,
so you stick it off to the side?
Off to the side.
Okay.
And first 2 or 3 songs, we might have to go over there and tweak it a little, but it's fine. It's fine. It sounds good.
Well, a testament to your longevity is that you figured out sound. See, a lot of bands, it's a learning process, right?
Mm-hmm.
Your sound gets better, I think, as you get older and wiser and more mature to it, because you understand the rooms. Every room's different.
Yeah.
Like, There's a venue, Gator Club, we play, and it's got the hard floor, and it's got a short wall like right behind you,
Mhm.
and so it's like the bass is just so freaking loud. The snare drum is
Mhm.
deafening.
Mhm.
So what we do is that's when we wear inner ears, which I'm going to ask you about that in a second.
Sure.
And when we do have a sound man, the first thing he'll say to us is that keep your stage volume as low as possible. In
Mhm.
fact, get rid of your cabinets. Like sometimes my bass will just go direct, and then I could put a little something in my ear so I can hear myself.
Mhm.
Because the goal is to have a front of the house mix that's just wonderful.
Mhm.
And like a great example would be Ray from the seafood festivals.
Mhm.
She knows what she's doing, so it's a
Yep.
wonderful front of the house. Now,
Yes.
the luxury that we have because it's outdoors is that everyone's got a giant wedge monitor.
Mhm.
So that's beautiful. But like when you go indoors, you know that you have to, that all shrinks down.
Mhm.
What are your thoughts on monitors?
Well, I've never used in-ears. Um, None of the guys do in the band right now. Um, I I've never even tried it. I always just want to know what's going on everywhere, and I want to really be engaged with the crowd. Know what's going on out there. Hear what's going out there. Um, so that's just me. But uh, our previous drummer wore in ears. He had a click in his ear, and he loved it, and I loved him using that click too, because the tempo was never wrong. But anyway, but I just we use wedges, and that's
I noticed that
yeah.
my hearing is kind of, I'm not going to say my hearing is suffering, but sometimes I have issues.
Mhm.
Have you had any hearing issues at all over the years?
I am so blessed. I cannot believe it, but I don't. Um, my Taking those months off in the summer, I think that's helpful to my hearing,
Without a doubt.
to have just that quiet
Yeah.
for 4 months. Um, but it's really it's just a miracle that, I can hear as well as I can, because many of the guys I work with or have played with, have a lot of issues with their hearing.
A lot of people use the inners because of that to help
Yeah.
protect their ears.
And it's smart. It's smart. I just don't. I never have. I feel I'm more engaged with everything going on around
And
me.
that's important. I agree with that statement.
Yeah.
You want to know what's going on in the audience,
Mhm.
and it's important to have that. Um,
Yeah.
so your other musicians, your bass players, they use the inners?
Nope. Nobody else.
Okay.
Nope. Nope. Everybody's just got a wedge in front of them and powered wedge.
So now you're doing 3 1-hour sets. Are you doing 2 75-minute sets? How does that work out for you?
Again, it varies by venue. Um, like a venue, like you talked about. Sometimes we'll do shorter sets, maybe an extra break, because they want to turn over the tables. They want people to eat, go, more people sit at that seat and eat. So we don't do too many of those because we want to get people there, somebody in every seat, and keep them there and get them partying the whole night long. So it just depends. If like 3-hour shows like Stoudemire's, we do hour and 15 or 20, take 25 minutes, back up for another hour, 15, 20. 4-hour shows, we take a couple of 20, 25-minute breaks. So over an hour set, hour and 10-minute sets.
That's great.
Yeah.
I recommend that too, yeah.
Long sets.
Shorter breaks than usual. Like in the old days, it was 60 on, 30 off, 60 on, 30 off. I got to the realization, like, look, guys, we're getting paid to perform here. We don't need 30 minutes off, man.
No.
We can do it with 15 or 20.
We're here to play. Let's play. And yeah, it's just I remember doing a single, which I don't enjoy doing a single, and God bless the ones that do, like Dana, Lawrence, he'll do a single and the next night a duo and the next night a band. And,
Well, he's a machine.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
But, when I was doing a single, I at times would not take a break at all in 3 hours. Just keep playing.
Well, you know what? That's what makes you a great front man, because of all that times you were a single guy. I think that lends, because you can still do that.
Yeah.
But now you have the luxury of a band behind you, and they're all good musicians, so you just let them do their thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love a band so much more. It's just more fun. It can be lonely as a single. It can be lonely up there. You're trying to please everybody, and sometimes you can be a little lonely. But with a band, you know, if it's a little bit slow or something, you still got your band members. You can play around with them.
Thank you.
So let's go back to the old days. Let's go back to what inspired you. This is a question that I ask a lot of my guests. You know, what were you listening to as far as records? You know, what was on the radio that was really getting you excited? Like, what inspired a young Dave Ferguson to start playing? Maybe start getting other people around him. Maybe get your first band.
Yeah.
You know,
You know, I've always loved music. And in school, I was in band. You know, I played clarinet, saxophone, clarinet concert band, saxophone, and jazz band. And but you know, at 13 years old, you know, started, you know, like after the Beatles came. You know,
okay,
you
great.
hear that
So
all the time. I'm
No,
sure.
but the Beatles really inspired you.
Yeah.
Right? Because you were one of those guys. Like I hear bands like my idols, like guys like Kiss, talk about Ed Sullivan
Yeah.
and all that stuff. And you lived that, man.
I lived it. Ed Sullivan was on Sunday night, and I was in the 8th grade. And, you know, here that day and time in Indiana, by the way, the town I grew up in was 300 people. There were 11 people in my class in school. Really small.
So you were born in a small town.
Very small town. And I love doing that song because of that. But Sunday night, the Beatles came on. The next day I went to school. I combed my hair down.
Sure.
Down like this. And they sent me to the office. And you got to come.
You were like the rebel back
then. Yeah. So
you were the troublemaker.
Yeah. So that, you know, that was cool. And not that I got into playing a lot of Beatles music. I mean, right now we do a couple of Beatles songs. We do a Beatles medley with the banjo, bluegrass style. We do Get Back and I've Just Seen a Face as a medley, bluegrass. Um, but um, but then, I can remember like it was yesterday as a teenager in the car, my mom's in Zayre's, which was like today's Target or Walmart. And we're sitting, my two sisters and I were out in the car, and we had the radio on, and Louie came on. And it was like, oh my God, listen to this. It was like, oh my God. And then it just went on from there. But yeah, get an electric guitar, get some guys together to play. And then I got my very first paying gig at 15. And it was a teen dance, second story at a VFW, Shelbyville, Indiana. We go there, carry the stuff up, we play for.
Do you remember the name of the band?
No.
Do you remember how many songs you had? You probably just had
we probably had 10 songs. I'm sure we had For Your Love, Gloria, Louie, Money,
Johnny Be Good, maybe.
Johnny Be Good, maybe Roll Over Beethoven. Those were our songs, but we played for 3 hours, and the girls loved us. And the guy comes up and gives each of us $5, $20 total, $5 a piece. This is it.
That had to have been the greatest night of your life back then.
This is what I want to do. Girls love us. Girls love me. I got paid for it.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
People clapping, right?
Yeah. My dad drove me. I wasn't even driving yet. I remember telling my dad, "Thanks for driving me to this." He goes, "Well, that's part of my job."
So that was the match that lit the fuse, man, right?
Yeah, that was cool. And then I went from there, college and stuff. I was not in so much to the rock and roll, but I was more the James Taylor, John Denver.
But was there always a guitar in your hands?
Always.
So at what point did you realize that you had skills?
Well, in high school, I remember getting an acoustic guitar that I could just carry with me all the time. I'd take it in school, and like at study hall, I'd try to get the teacher to let me play it over here in the corner. I remember the strings were about that high off the neck of that thing. My calluses, I could stick a pin in the end of them, go like that. It was, but I started thinking, I'm getting pretty good. I'm getting pretty good. And then I went to a Jose Feliciano concert. I'm not any good at all, so, but that was the early on. And then I started loving bands like Poco. We closed our show on the concert or festival shows with a Poco medley.
Yeah, I heard it. Yeah, it was great.
And just love that.
I love Poco.
Yeah.
You don't really hear bands doing Poco.
No.
So you were safe to say you were digging on that James, Jackson Brown, Eagles, Linda Ronstadt,
yeah,
Poco.
The early times of the Eagles. The Eagles did a song like probably their first album, but they were more country rock early on, and they were less rock. But they did a song, Dueling Daltons. And most people never even heard that. They were dueling Daltons. It was about like a gunfight in the streets, and so good.
I'll have to listen to it.
Yeah, Dueling Daltons.
Some of their obscure stuff, like I love Seven Bridges Road.
Oh, yeah.
And it's very hard to do that. We thought about in an earlier version of Jacked Up where we had more singers, we thought about trying to figure that out.
Yeah.
Because everyone has to have their very specific part.
Yeah.
To make it work.
It's a great song. And a couple of bands around do it, and it's really cool. I remember like a Loggins and Messina concert I went to early on, and Leo Kottke opened, and then Kenny Loggins walked out, sat down on a chair with acoustic guitar. He goes, "Christopher Robin and I walked alone." And then he did Danny's song and a couple of others of his acoustic things, and then Jimmy Messina comes out and the band
and they rocked it up. You know what I love by those guys? Angry Eyes.
Yeah, Angry Eyes was awesome. And that night I saw them. They had a guy that played like 5 instruments. But he keyboard and this and this and this. But he played the fiddle too. And
so let's talk about that. Let's talk about your transition. So how'd you get into fiddle? And
yeah, it's just early on. I went and again dirt band. John McCune played fiddle and banjo, and I saw another band. The guy played a banjo, and I thought, man, that would really. I loved it. I loved the sound of it, but I thought that could really help me in what I'm doing.
Is the banjo? And again, I'm just a 4-string bass player, so I'm asking you a question. If you could play a 6-string guitar, is the banjo that much harder? Is it difficult to transition to banjo? Is a banjo a hard instrument to play?
It's different. I mean, it's similar to the guitar in that it's got a neck and strings, but it's way different. It's tuned differently. Like I do Scruggs style, Earl Scruggs style, and so it's tuned to an open G, and it's picking. This is the same as guitar,
but you're still doing chord. You're still making chords.
Making chords, not the same fingering positions, but chords and notes, but so much of this, and then the fiddle is way different, because it's the bow, all that technique is different. So very different.
So you're playing 3 very different instruments, and you're doing it very, very well.
Thank you.
So obviously you practiced a lot.
Practiced a lot early on. I haven't practiced a lot for a long time now, but through the years, I'm not as good on the banjo now as I was 20 years ago, because it's like use it or lose it with this fine motor skills. But I can still play it good, and it gets the job done. But the fiddle, I've come a long way on the fiddle through the years. As long as I stay in my lane with the fiddle. I'm not a trained, violinist or anything like that. But if I keep to the bluegrass and do what I do.
But aren't you ranked or noted as a historically as a member of a fiddle society?
On the banjo. And thank you for bringing that up. I was nominated 2 or 3 years ago by a girl in Sarasota that comes to hear us play, to be recognized in the American Banjo Museum.
That's pretty impressive.
It was such a flattering thing that she thought of doing this, and it wasn't just send in my name. There was a process. She had to get all this information, send recordings, and
Oh yeah, no, they don't just let anybody walk in there, right?
Yeah, exactly. So anyway, and the American Banjo Museum's located in Oklahoma City, Oklahoma. And so they do have a Hall of Fame there, and that's like Earl Scruggs.
Oh, he was the best.
Even Steve Martin. Steve Martin is
That's right. He did that. He did that part of his act. Yeah.
Yeah. But then they have people like me that they've recognized in the museum, our picture, our bio, as people that have spent decades playing the banjo, making people happy with the banjo, and sharing the joy of that American instrument, one of the very few American instruments, like the 5-string banjo, and sharing the joy of that with people.
Well, I'm going to challenge you right now to play more banjo based on what you just said. And now people are going to hear this and they're going to be like, hey, let's hear more banjo.
Okay. Yeah. I love playing it, and I love the stuff we do on it.
So Deliverance.
Yeah.
That song is not just 1, but 2 banjos, correct?
Correct. That was originally it was originally called not dueling banjos, but feuding banjos. It was done by the a band from the Carolinas. And of course it was made famous in the movie Deliverance. Yeah. But yeah, so George and I, originally it was done with 2 banjos, but then in Deliverance, it was a guitar and a banjo, the kids sitting on the front porch, and the
classic scene.
It
was a demonstration of different cultures. Maybe that guy couldn't even speak English, but yet they were able to communicate through their love and appreciation of music, and they understand chords. So he knew where to take that next progression.
Exactly.
And it was brilliant.
Yeah. And George and I, whoever I've had on guitar through the years, but we do it, and it's fun. It's like at Island Time, or wherever we do it. It's like the first banjo song we do, and we just, as soon as you go da 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 da, the crowd's like, oh yeah, here we go.
Oh yeah, and that's what's great about the Dr. Dave band is that you have a unique sound, and B, you can do things like that other bands aren't doing.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what makes us different. I mean, if we were trying to do like the stuff you do, or stuff Twinkle does, or whatever, we wouldn't be very great at it. I mean, my musicians could step in there and do that, but it just wouldn't be. But the thing that makes us the Dr. Dave band, and thank you for mentioning those awards, the Community Choice Award. The thing that makes that happen is my years of building up my following, but that set list, those Alabama songs,
right?
Those songs that we do, that old traditional songs.
You're a producer and you produce a product.
Yeah.
So those songs that you arrange and the way that you have them ordered, that's ultimately the product that you're giving the audience, and they love it.
Yep.
And they can't get enough of it.
That's it.
So like the Alabama's a great example.
Yeah.
There are people that are such fans of that kind of genre that they know they need to come see Dr. Dave in order to hear it.
Yeah. And we'll be playing a place. We play a couple of places where it's a real young crowd. I mean, mostly 20 somethings on the dance floor. And we play Dixieland Delight. The song's 50 years old by Alabama. They're singing every word.
But Dave, here's my theory. A good song is a good song is a good song.
Right.
And these young kids know they know how to dance. They want to dance. They can feel the vibe, man.
Yeah.
And
they, their parents were listening to that, and they know it. They love it. And yeah.
Do you have songs that people line dance to?
Oh yeah.
Because we have a bunch that we try to keep them together. Like for an example, I didn't realize this, but Footloose, that's like a big line dancing song.
Yeah. We have that on our break CD because these line dancers liked it.
Yeah. During the break. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We do a booty shaking.
Okay. Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah. Yeah. We have a group called the Country Rockers. They're line dancers, and either the whole group or some of them come to almost every show. So they're entertaining the crowd just like we are. And then we have another couple that are not line dancers, but country dancers, going around the circle, like the Joyland thing.
Yeah.
And they're almost at every show, and people just love watching them.
So could you do, like, I know you do rock, you do country, you do a nice mix, but if you had to, can you do like an entire country show?
We couldn't do maybe 4 hours. Well, I probably could do 4 hours, but certainly 2 or 3 hours. Yeah.
So you could certainly do 2 killer sets of country.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Because I think this market needs more country music bands. I really do.
Yeah.
I think there's a hunger for country music. I love what Joyland's doing.
Mm-hmm.
When it first opened, remember it was like Thursday and Saturday were countries, and then Friday was the rock night.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if they still have that format.
Yeah, I don't know.
But country music is definitely, there's a hunger for it. People love it.
Yeah, and we all through these years, we've never played Joyland because we're not country enough.
Yeah, they want country.
They want country.
Right.
They want what they're watching on TV and the current one that's out and the dance that goes with it. And that's not us.
That's why they have a good DJ, because fans, people can go there and still get that through the DJ. So they'll still have a full dance floor, but they'll be playing Kenny Chesney, and they'll be playing all today's hits.
Yeah.
And they'll love it, and they'll dance to it.
Yeah. And, we don't do a lot of the new country. Ours is mainly classic country, but, we do that Cody Johnson song, Till You Can't, which was like a 2020 Song of the Year. I love that song. I mean, there's like 3 or 4 songs that I love. And over the decades, only probably 4, like The Dance by Garth Brooks, Red Dirt Road by Brooks and Dunn, Cody Johnson's, I love those songs. I mean, those Nashville songwriters, they know how to tell a story in 2.5 minutes. But, here's a good little story about a Nashville songwriter. My wife, Joanne, and I, go to Colorado, been going out there since 2010. Well, about 10 years ago, we were making our 3rd attempt to summit this mountain called Mount Ypsilon in Rocky Mountain National Park. First time we thought we got there, we were like 2 peaks down. We didn't make it.
Like you're excited. Then, wait a minute.
Yeah. Then the next year we tried to do it, and 'cause it's like almost a 14,000 foot summit. So, and that's pretty high.
Does the air change up there?
Oh,
Like
yeah.
you could feel it?
Oh, yeah. And so the second time we tried it, the wind was like, it's summer, but the wind was like 30 miles an hour. It was like freezing cold. So finally, then we tried it again. We tried it on Labor Day, like 10 years ago. So we're getting there. We're pretty sure that we're on the right, the ascent to the top. And it's like, 13.5. We're starting to feel, not
Sure.
so good. But anyway, there's one other guy up there. He's ahead of us. So Joanne yells out to him, "Hey, is this the summit to Ypsilon?" He goes, "Yep." She goes, "Are you sure?" Yeah, this is it. So he's a strong hiker, and he's going on up, and we follow him up there. So we get up there to the top.
Congratulations.
Yeah, we make it.
Were you like, yeah?
Oh, yeah. That was one of our big achievements. But anyway, we're talking to this guy. He goes, "Hey, I'm Mark. I'm from Nashville." And so we say, "Well, we're from Florida, blah, blah, blah." He goes, "Well," and we just talked hiking in the Rocky Mountain National Park. So he said, "Listen, tomorrow night's my birthday. We're going to celebrate it at the Rock, this bar. And you guys ought to join my wife and I. Her name's Tia Sillers." Okay. So we, said, "We're going to meet you." So next morning, Mark Selby, Nashville, he wrote "Blue on Black" for Kenny Shepard.
Great song.
He wrote "There's Your Problem" for Dixie Chicks. He had like this many top hits in Nashville. His wife, Tia Sillers, wrote "I Hope You Dance."
That's a big one.
#1 song of whatever year that was. So we meet them at the bar. We're hanging there. Joanne takes one of my CDs and goes, "Listen to this one." But anyway, it was just nice people. And we had a great time with them, talking about mostly hiking, but some about the Nashville music.
Sure. Let's talk about your originals.
Okay.
So how many originals do you have?
Well, I have 2 full CDs of 9 or 10 original songs. The last one was more than 10 years ago. But, country, a little blues in there.
Do you still to this day, do you insert them in your sets?
I get requests for some of them to this day. And on a rare occasion, I'll try to do 1 or 2. It's just been so long and the band members don't know them.
Sure.
But, yeah, and it was the last one I did was, like, I don't know, at least 15 years ago. But I thought it had some good stuff on there. But it was, it was just for me. I wanted it for me, a little bit of a remembrance that I could do this, and still can, thankfully. But and I even called it "Big Fish, Small Pond," because I'd given up the dream 20 30 years ago. So it was happy to be a person that gets to play a lot in a place like this, small
We're in
pond.
paradise, right?
Yeah.
So do you still love it is the big question.
I still love making people happy. I want to find that kid that you got to carry this. I've tried to find
You know what? You gotta find someone that's got a 16 or a 17-year-old son that's bored.
Okay, yeah,
That's the key.
and they need
the right age.
They need some focus, but yeah,
They need money too.
But yeah, I still like to do it more than I don't want to do it, and I still really like making people happy. I start in, I look out there, I see the heads turn, I see the smiles on the faces.
And it's great because you're still very much in demand. I mean, like everybody likes you guys. The festival promoters love you guys.
Mm-hmm.
There's not a festival that I see that you're not on the bill.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So you have the momentum going.
We do. I've tried to quit a couple of times. When Joanne and I first got together years ago, we were doing the 9 to 1, get home at 2:33 in the morning, which we don't do anymore. But it was just like, I'm just not enjoying this.
That could burn you out. I quit drinking because that's another thing that can burn you out fast.
Oh, yeah.
Like, we play the
Yeah.
Gator Club, which is a late night.
Mhm.
And it's very important for me. Like I take a nap before the show.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I drink coffee, I drink water. Like I don't have any alcohol
Yeah.
because in order for me to be at my absolute best and be able to stay, because I'm getting old, man. It's like, you know, I'm like everybody else, I start yawning. You know, I'm doing my final set and I'm looking at the clock on the wall. I'm like, 30 minutes.
Yeah.
You know, smile.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. But yeah. So anyway, but I found out both times I quit it, but it didn't quit me. And it just, after a year or so, it crept back in. I got to do this. I got to
And
do
isn't it
this.
hard? Do you do the bookings or is that Joanne?
No, that's me.
Okay. Isn't it hard to say no sometimes? Like you have a Saturday that's off, but then someone's like, could you play that?
That's
and
it.
You're like, oh, geez. You're like, all right.
I know. I just never can say no. But what I have learned to do, and this has just been in the last few years, raise the price enough that they can say no.
There you go.
They can say
Sure.
no. And then I don't have to say
Yeah,
no.
we raised our prices too.
Yeah.
But we're still a very good, affordable band. New
Yeah.
Year's Eve, though, is crazy. Like, we don't play New Year's Eve. We've been offered New Year's Eve gigs, but New Year's Eve to me is the kind of night where I don't want to be on the roads.
Yeah,
And
it's a tough one.
I want to be home, you know, and I want to like kind of be, it's a special moment to say goodbye to that year and say hello to the next year. And
Yeah.
it's kind of a special thing to me. It's almost like there's a little spiritual to me as well.
Yeah, it's a special night. You know, traditionally it's the big night for bands.
So you could make a lot of money is what I'm trying to say.
Oh,
if
yeah,
if you
yeah.
decide to play.
And we do it. We've done it the last few years at the same place, the last 2 or 3 years. You know, good money. But I don't go looking for New Year's Eve gigs. If someone calls me and the money's good enough, then
Plus, you
I'll
know,
do it.
sometimes as we have bandmates, and some of them are in different financial positions, so
Yeah.
it's like I can't necessarily say good no to something that I know pays well, and I know that one of my band members,
They would like that big money.
is paying their
Yes.
mortgage, right?
Yes.
So, you know,
Exactly.
I have to be cognizant of that.
Yes, that's exactly
But
right.
you know what? I don't do this for the money. The money's fantastic, and I don't never say no to money.
Mhm.
But I typically reinvest it back into the gear. So, like, I have a lot of high end gear, and I keep collecting it.
Yeah.
And I just take the money and put it back in. I'm fortunate to be in that situation.
Mhm.
I do it because I love it, and I've always been a ham. I've always loved attention. When I
Yeah.
do the Twisted Fork,
Mhm.
and sometimes they let us open up for a national act. So
Mhm.
what it is, it's typically we're Sundays, you know, during the day, which is great. But sometimes we'll be like Friday night, you know, Saturday night, 8 to 9, and then the Van Halen guy comes on, or the best Aerosmith tribute in the land. Or,
Yeah.
you know,
That's south of here, isn't it?
it's in Port Charlotte. So
Okay, yeah.
the cool thing about that, they sell VIP and it's sold out.
Mhm.
You can't, it's like thousands of people. So we get to open up for that.
Mhm.
So, like, you know, Andy Warhol used to say, everybody should get 15 seconds of fame.
Mhm.
There's nothing more wonderful than getting up there and doing your set and getting ready to say goodnight and welcome the next band that's coming on. And everybody's there to see them, not us.
Yeah.
But it's just cool. I have a picture of me looking out on the audience from taken from behind me.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's a jacked up audience, but it's really not.
Yeah.
But I saw that. I took credit for it. I'm like, yeah, man, you know. And then
Yeah.
you come off the stage and everyone's like, oh my God, you guys were so great. Da, da, da. Believe it or not, and it's embarrassing to admit this, but I live for that high, man.
Oh, it's a
And
great.
that's what keeps me going.
Yeah, it's a great high. I want, you know, I want the money, and I want the fun. And the fun for me is making people happy and interacting that energy going back and forth. And I try to tell my bandmates this, you can't depend on them to give you the energy. You have to give it to them first.
You're right.
And then you will get it back. And then it can just, you know, escalate from there.
I have to remind myself to smile,
Mm.
and I have to remind myself to move around, because sometimes I'll just stand there and I frown and people think, why is he so angry?
Mhm.
And I'm not angry. I'm happy.
Yeah.
It's just that I've got a lot going in my mind. I'm thinking about so many things outside of like my performance, which I shouldn't be doing
Right.
as the band leader. So the point is that, to your point, is that, yeah, man, let's have energy. Let's smile. Let's laugh at each other. Let's go move around the stage. We're all
Yeah.
wireless.
Yeah.
So I one day I was like, you know what? I'm wireless. Why don't I just walk down there and check out Larry and
Yeah.
see what he's doing and smile and
Yeah.
come back,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. We, as far as investing back into the equipment, yeah, I'm totally willing to do that. It's, you know, it's just who's going to haul it, who's going to set it up. But our merchandise sales are pretty good.
You guys do a wonderful job, and shout out to your wife for running that. You guys have different color shirts, different styles of shirts, different
Yeah.
items. It's not just like one t-shirt, like Jacked Up. We have one shirt, take it or leave it. You guys have multiple offerings.
Yeah, women's, men's, colors, hats, shirts, different through the years, different things. And Joanne has input into, what we get, but we have a great merchandise team, a couple, Mark and Jean, and they are, 5-6 years ago.
They're at every show.
They're every show.
Yeah, I've seen them. I didn't know their names, but I've seen them. Yeah,
Mark and Jean, and they,
shout out to Mark and Jean.
Shout out to Mark and Jean. And just like 6 years ago, Mark walks in with some t-shirts. He lifted our logo, and I'm like, that ain't right.
Yeah, right.
He lifted
sue you.
He lifted our logo. He goes, no, I just wanted to give you guys shirts, and I wanted one.
That's a really nice thing. Yeah.
Yeah, and then he goes, and if you want, I'll get some more, and we'll just sell them, and they've been doing it ever since, and they're just great people.
Well, Dave, it's been a pleasure talking with you,
Yeah.
man. In these final few minutes, how can people find out your schedule? How can they find out when the next Dr. Dave show is going to be?
Well, our Facebook, Dr. Dave Band Facebook page, and then we have website, drdaveband.com, DRDAVE band.com. And come to our show.
Are you on Go Tonight as well?
On Go Tonight.
We use Go Tonight. Go Tonight's a wonderful tool.
And I think a lot of people use that as to find their bands. Coming up, we have this Friday, we have Island Time. Saturday, 5 to 9, we have Clancy's. Then we have New Year's Eve. Then the next week, January 3rd, Motorworks. January 4th, American Legion. And
you have a lot of shows. You guys are very, very busy. And your marketing team does a good job with Facebook. Because you use Facebook.
Now that is Joanne.
Sure she is, yeah.
Yeah, that's Joanne. She does those posters and all that. And you guys have great stuff too. And I want to congratulate you. I mean, you're a worker, and you get things done, and very, very, very proud of all. I
appreciate that. I enjoy doing it. I tell people I'm a marketing guy that just happens to play the bass. Marketing's my love.
Well, you play the bass good, and you sing good.
I created this show, and I'm trying to figure out where can I take Jacked Up to the next level. Like, not just with the music, but like we used to sell hot sauce, and we used to brand ourselves.
I remember that. Yeah, first time I ever saw you guys was at a festival. I think you had a guy at the end running around with a flag.
Yeah, right.
Isn't
that funny?
Yeah, it was cool.
Well, Dave, thank you so much for coming in. You're a class guy. You're an excellent musician. I recommend to anyone who hasn't seen you yet to please go and see a Dr. Dave show.
Great.
All right, my man.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming in, man.
All right.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
All right.